Bung Pod. Welcome back, Wine Wonder Boy.
And we got Jazzy J. Jazzy!
What is a bung?
The hole of the barrel is called a bung hole. Inside the bung hole is called a bung. Wine with mayhem. That's what it's about. Welcome back to the Bung Pod. It's your boy Ian King, aka Wine Wonder Boy, and also with my co-host Jazzy J in the building.
Hey, hey.
Yeah, what up, what up, what up? So we have an interesting podcast today. We are going to be talking about a little bit about natural wines.
And sulfites.
And sulfites, and also the brie cheese epidemic.
As well as some vegan wine.
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
We got this.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right.
Precarious. But
So
we got this.
what are we open today?
So, I'm going to taste it first.
This is a natural wine.
It's a natural
Let's
wine.
start there.
So-
That our lovely guest, Brie Davis, brought to us. So we thought it would be appropriate to drink here.
Smells good.
I want to smell it. No, I want to smell
You
the
smell
cork.
the cork? Here you go. I do like the cork. It's a composite cork.
I definitely think this is my first natural wine that I'm aware of.
That you're aware of? Okay.
I could have possibly had one in the past, but
You gotta be careful of pouring this guy because it has a lot of sediment at the bottom. Tartrates and a bunch of stuff. So this is 50% Grenache and 50% Picpoul. I don't want to say the producer until I smell it and taste it. Just in case I don't like it. But I have good confidence because they make good wine. Beautiful. Okay.
turn that label around.
So this wine is from Sonder Wines in Yakima. 50% Grenache, 50% Picpoul Blanc, co-fermented together, unfined, unfiltered. And they're based, they're actually based in Grandview. I think their tasting room's in Yakima. But yeah, it says produced and bottled by Sonder Wines in Grandview. Yeah, so I guess they have their social media stuff on here too. A bland smell?
Just like nothing there. Like air.
It's kind of perfumey.
I mean, it has a little perfumey smell to it, but...
Yeah, fruit, bright fruit.
All right,
perfume.
give us the notes.
Here we are. Okay, so we have red and white floral notes on the nose that I'm getting. Also fruit on the nose, like bright strawberry or watermelon.
I almost get like a Gushers.
Gushers.
Yeah, like the red Gusher.
Absolutely. Red Gushers. And on the palate, okay. A little bit of stem in there, I feel like. It's not bitter, but there is a phenolic. I don't know how to like herbal, I guess.
Yeah.
Some herbal with like that, like you were saying, red Gushers, that strawberry, that watermelon. It's interesting. It's a very light red wine. It's a chillable red is what it is.
Oh, totally. Summer red.
So it's not as light as a like Provence style rosé.
What's the alcohol in this?
Probably like 12.
I was going to say, it seems like a perfect one to sit by. 11.5.
11.5. Yeah, there you go.
Seems like a great one to pop open next to the pool on a hot 105 day.
Poolside sipper.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Give me 4 of them.
A little porch pounder. That's what this is. It's a porch pounder for sure.
This is a porch pounder.
Yeah.
All right.
But I don't think Sam would want to take this to the dome piece, though. If you know what I mean.
No, probably not.
On our glasses podcast, we had Sam on, the firefighter Sam. His favorite glass was the bottle itself. But there's a lot of sediment on the bottom of this guy. It is a natural wine. There's a lot of tartrates on the bottom. It's unfiltered, unfined. So,
all right, so tell me
won't chew
about natural wines. Let's just go into it.
Go into it.
Time.
Okay.
Time to rip these Band-Aids off. Because
Natural
I'm
wine.
real sick of people coming in to my tasting room and talking about natural wines, talking about sulfites, talking about vegan wine.
Yeah.
And the one that I was telling you earlier, this week I had someone come in and say, "Oh, sorry, I can't drink Cab Franc. I'm allergic to it." but I can have Cab Sauv. I'm like, okay, that's fine, but you're not allergic to Cab Franc. It's how the winemaker makes that wine.
Yeah, it's
what's inside that wine.
That's ridiculous.
It's part of the recipe. So just because you had one bad experience or two, drink some water and eat some food. And then come back to me and we will go back onto that topic here shortly. Now let's go into natural wines. Now that I've ripped that off my chest.
When people say like that they're allergic to a certain grape variety, I'm just like, shut the fuck up.
Please stop talking.
You don't need to talk.
Also, I wanted to point out, nice sweatshirt.
Oh, thank you. A new some Bung Pod merch here.
Yeah,
got
it's
the nice
finally out.
Olive green hoodie with the Bung Pod wine bottle with the sippy straw coming out of it.
Is there anything on the back?
There's nothing on the back on this one.
Okay, couldn't remember.
It is just on the left breast.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a dope hoodie. That's super comfortable.
What else did you get?
I got a black hoodie that has a bottle on it as well. I got a gift, the Champagne Throat Goat hoodie.
Ooh.
I'm
waiting for that.
For either my girlfriend or a friend. I don't know which one yet. So whoever wants it. And then I have a beanie as well.
Nice.
And also a t-shirt.
Yeah.
The Bung Pod t-shirt. So
also, should we shout out to our first purchase?
Our first purchase of merch.
Who purchased our first merch? Wasn't it Olivia?
It was your friend Olivia. That's in Las Vegas. She's in the VEG.
So she
the
got a
LVNV.
sweatshirt. She loves it.
Yeah.
She's been repping. I think it was the black one.
The black one. Yeah. Thank you, Olivia. You're the best.
Love you.
Yeah, it's dope.
Love you extra.
Hell yeah.
All right, back to it.
Natty wines. So the thing about natural wines is that there's not really a clear definition of what a natural wine is. The buzzword has been going on the past, 10, 15 years.
Yeah, it makes people feel healthy.
Makes people feel better about themselves for sure. But yeah, natural wine does not have a clear-cut definition of what natural wine is. But I will talk about what people think it is, or what most wine buyers at natural wine bars, what they base their purchasing off of.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, this is like my first natural wine, so you're going to take this over because I only know so much here. I'll nod my head and say yes.
I am an equal opportunity wine drinker. I do not discriminate against any wines unless it's super faulty or it's just poor winemaking. But natural wine, I do love natural wines as well as I love conventional. So I'm a very good middle ground neutral person. I have a lot of love for both of them. So natural wine doesn't have a clear-cut definition, but what most wine purchasers or wine buyers for a natural wine shop or bar or restaurant for that matter, what they base their purchasing off of is having no additives in the wine. So some wine buyers will, let me backtrack. I'll rewind. What can be added to wines? And why is natural wine a thing?
Yeah.
So for conventional wines, this is what you're looking at. You receive the grapes, right? And usually there's also vineyard approach to natural wines too. Not always. They want to be sustainable, biodynamic, or organic. When you get the grapes into your facility and you make the wine, they do not add yeast for natural winemakers.
Okay. Because it's a natural fermentation.
Yeah, so they leave the grapes how they are, and they just let nature take its place. So it's a very hands-off approach. So you're not adding yeast into the wine. You're not inoculating anything. Conventional winemakers, they'll add the yeast, and then within a day or so, it'll start fermenting. And then you do your normal ritual. You do punch downs. If it's red wine, if it's white wine, just kind of leave it there. And some people will add nutrient to the fermentation to keep it healthy. That could be a product called DAP, or it could be just more nitrogen nutrient for the fermentation to keep it healthy and keep it stable, so it does not it doesn't stop fermenting. And so what you don't want is a dead fermentation.
Yeah.
Because that will give you a headache, and restarting the fermentation could be it is very hard to do. You can't just add more yeast in. It's not that. I've done it before. It is it's a difficult process, and usually your wine does not come out the way that you would want it to when you get the grapes in and do a healthy ferment. Sometimes there's a lot of phenolic bitterness at the end, and it just sucks. So your end product could be a lot worse if you didn't add yeast. But that being said, I know one of my friends who's a winemaker. He's done conventional and natural fermentations. Native fermentations is also called. And he's had the same amount of stuck fermentations in either conventional or native. So for him, he does a lot of native ferments now, and he's like, honestly, I've talked to him about it a few times. He's like, I've seen it both ways. I don't, if it gets stuck, it gets stuck at the end of the day. So that's yeast. And then also there's a number of things people can add to conventional wines. If you're talking bulk, or if you're bulk wines like grocery store wines, they add a shit ton of stuff in there. You can add oak like powder essentially, or tannin powder, which I'm actually allergic to, I guess, because I've had a number of wines that my hands swell up a lot, or I get headaches from it, and we'll go over that a little bit later in this podcast episode. Instead of as a grocery store thing, it's a shortcut to having oak flavor and oak profile within your wine without purchasing the expensive French oak. So you add oak powder.
Yes, and I have heard of this.
And tannin powder.
Especially with when they're just producing mass quantities.
Yeah. I would say like Josh.
Yeah.
Josh is one. Justin.
Yeah.
Owned by Coca-Cola is another.
Yeah. They're just pushing it out.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's just for bulk wines. For your typical conventional boutique winery that's small, about up to 10,000 cases a year, they're doing the ferments. They're adding nutrient to most of the ferments as well. And that's really just another product that has yeast in it, and it has nitrogen in it and a bunch of other chemicals that's healthy for a healthy ferment to keep it going so it doesn't get stuck, essentially. And usually people will do, if you're not a bulk winemaker, you're putting your wine in a barrel for years and years, taking it out, and then you're filtering, you're fining it. You're adding bentonite into the tank. Bentonite is a clay. That's the most popular or widely used fining agent. And what fining does is really just take out a lot of sediment, so your wine isn't cloudy.
Yes.
Like those really microscopic things that filtering won't take out.
Yeah.
And so that's really what you're taking out. And then you're adding SO2, which is also sulfur dioxide, aka sulfites, into your wines. It's an antioxidant agent. So it keeps the wine fresh. It keeps it from staling out, especially in white wines. That's a big thing in white wines. And they do it in red wines as well to keep it fresh. And then they do a small bump of SO2 right before they bottle, so they know it's healthy and it's stable in the bottle before it goes to distribution or sales, whether it be distribution or the tasting room. So that's conventional. Natural winemakers, they won't add yeast. They won't add anything. It's a very hands-off approach. And they will still do punch downs and those things, but they're not going to be adding nutrients into their ferments usually. They're not adding... there is a big debate with natural winemakers about adding SO2 or not. Some don't, some do. Depends. That's where the definition of natural is a little cloudy, is in sulfur. So, I mean, SO2 is it is a natural product of fermentation in general. Yes. So it'll be in your wine no matter regardless. What. Yeah. But whether you're adding more or not depends on the winemaker and depends on what their goal is and what they want to be doing. So, not all natural wine is made equally. If you make good natural wine, I'll say if you make not great natural wine, it's going to taste oxidized. Yeah. It's going to taste like most white wines, like Chardonnay, for example. I've seen a couple of natural winemakers who just let it oxidize. And
so do you generally see the natural in whites or reds?
It's equal. It's about equal on both. Usually a winemaker.
What about sparkling?
Sparkling for the most part already is.
Yeah, I was gonna say you don't really.
Well, actually, no, it's not. Because for method champenois, for champagne, you're adding yeast. Okay. That's part of the process. The process. You're adding more yeast and you're incorporating it in. Before it goes into the bottle. So when you make the still wine, you're adding yeast and you're adding sugar into the bottle so it does ferment. Yeah, okay. And so I am not sure. I mean, there's pet-nat, which is petulant natural, which is a natural way to make sparkling wine. Okay. So so that
would make sense. Okay.
I'm a little foggy on the process of that because I haven't done it and I haven't studied it in a long time. But what I think you do is you make your wine, whether it be white or red, usually white or rosé colored, and you're waiting till it's fermenting until dryness, but it's still fermenting, and then you bottle it while it's still bubbly in there. Okay. And then you crown cap it, and that's it. Yeah. And so there's no riddling, there's no dosage. You just keep it in there, and then you sell it. And so that's why with a lot of pet-nats, there's a ton of sediment on the bottom of it. Because that's all lees. That's all dead yeast cells falling to the bottom because it finished its fermentation within bottle already.
Okay, that makes sense.
At the end of the day, you're just kind of hoping that it ferments in there. Because I've had some bottles when making method champenois process where it didn't actually ferment in the bottle.
All right, let's take a quick break for a second because I got something I want to tell you guys about. If you want an extra episode per week, if you want exclusive discounts on some dope ass merch that we got, also if you want to add your 2 cents, your opinions, your hot takes, or your topic ideas, we want to hear about it. Go to patreon.com/officialbungpod and talk to us. Now let's get back to the show. All right, guys, we got some news. We have an official Bung Pod store. We got some merch going. Bungpod.store. Update your life. Update your wardrobe. You need some new clothes. You need to look fresh. Update your life. Update your style. We got hoodies. We got handbags. We got stickers. We got beanies. We got more coming on the way. So if you like the show and you want to cop yourself some merch, go to bungpod.store. Now let's get back to the show.
I'm just kind of hoping it does.
That's so stressful.
I've had some pet-nats that are extremely bubbly and some that are just like prickly or fizzy.
Okay, yeah,
You
I
know.
know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm even learning today, guys.
Yeah. And one thing about natural wines for white wines, or for this kind of style that we're drinking now, which is a super light red style, they don't go through malolactic fermentation, so
Okay.
ML,
Yep.
which turns malic acid into lactic acid.
Yeah.
So that's the process that a lot of Chardonnays go through, especially if it's in barrel,
Yeah.
where the malic acid is more of a green apple flavor, and the lactic acid is more kind of like milk or butter.
Milk, butter, yeah.
Tons of lactic acid in milk and butter, both, and all of those dairy products too. So that's what it's not really a fermentation. It's more just a transformation of acids.
Which makes sense.
Is really what it is, not necessarily a fermentation.
Yeah.
As we would textbook know it, right?
Yes, okay.
So with natural wines, a way to keep it from going to mallow is by adding SO2.
Okay. Yeah.
And so with natural wines, you can also cold stabilize it. So if you cold stabilize it to like 35 degrees for like a couple weeks, it's likely not going to be going through that process of malolactic. But then you have to have a tank and glycol, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of natural winemakers like to have this philosophy of winemaking where it's more linear to that of making wine in like Jesus's time, right? When they didn't have all this stuff, didn't have all the technology and stuff.
Yeah.
So it really depends on who you are and what you're trying to do. And then you're also running the risk of it spontaneously fermenting in bottle and then corks popping out randomly.
Yep.
So there's also that. But so natural wine doesn't necessarily have a clear-cut definition. Some of my friends who are wine buyers or have a natural wine bar or wine shop, they will make an exception for sulfur in the wines. Like, okay, you added sulfites, that's fine. We'll still take it. Everything else is natural. You didn't add anything else.
Okay, I can understand that.
Yeah, and
Because you kind of...
and it's on the honor system, really. So
Yeah.
the winemakers will say that it's a natural wine. And then some people are making quote unquote natural wines, but they're not natural, but selling them
As they're natural.
as they're not, because there's not a definition and there are
One
no
big recipe.
markers.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you don't have to tell
Yeah.
what you're doing.
Yeah. So some wine buyers could be buying wines that are definitely not within their category of natural, but they're still buying it and selling it because the profile tastes natural. Natural wines usually taste a lot lighter in style, a lot more kind of this style that we're drinking now, more drinkable, more chillable reds, So that's natural wine, which gives us a nice little transition into sulfites. And here we go.
are. So this is a topic that drives me nuts. People say they can't drink wine, or specifically red wine, because of sulfites. Let me say this in a very nice way. Go fuck yourself. Because false. And honestly, it drives me crazy. And, first off, trying to be better with my language, but that is an example of when I need to use it. But seriously, you cannot, the processed foods that you guys eat every single day has more sulfites in it than wine. And honestly, wine almost has a natural sulfite fermentation. That's how wine is made. It's not the sulfites, people. It is not the sulfites. Let's make that very, very clear.
So why is sulfites a big deal? Just for the people that are listening. Like, I know why, but the question's for everyone else. Like, why is a sulfite such a big topic?
Because it's the new thing, and everybody thinks they're allergic to it, but
Because people
They're
think
not.
it gives you headaches.
Yeah. And let me go on to a quote that I found earlier that I can just whip up real quickly because
So sulfites aren't the
issue.
aren't the
people.
issue for headaches or any of your reactions. If you're eating McDonald's fries, any fast food fries, essentially, besides In-N-Out. Potato chips, dried fruits that still have their color.
Certain nuts,
Yeah.
those have more sulfites.
If you're not eating the brown, dried up, brittled, dried fruits, and you're eating the really nice, colorful mango,
Yes,
apricot
the mango,
ones,
yep.
those have a shit ton of sulfites in it, more than a bottle of wine will have.
Yes. All right. Now, let me just read this to you. It came from, where's the website? Oh, I screenshotted it just for this, so I don't have it here. But sulfite allergies. Well, sulfites have been identified as an allergen by the FDA. It is important to note that most people are not actually allergic to them. The FDA estimates that only 1% of the population has a sulfite sensitivity. When talking about headaches after drinking wine, many people attribute the wine flu symptom to sulfites. However, in 2008, a study, Alcohol and Migraine, Trigger Factors, Consumptions, Mechanisms, a review from the Journal of Headache and Pain, found that even people diagnosed with asthmatic sulfite allergies, struggling there,
Asthmatic. Yeah.
allergies, sulfites have not been linked to headaches. They have not been linked to headaches. While it's true that sulfites are present in wine and people can get headaches from drinking a little bit too much wine, those same people often eat foods that contain way more sulfites than the wine they drink and do not complain of headaches from those. Furthermore, studies have found that people complain of headaches just as much after drinking sulfite-free wines. The assumption that sulfites cause headaches appears to be an example of correlation and not causation. All right, so people.
This is a Natty
people
wine.
in the back. No, it's not a real thing. People that are in this industry that understand sulfites, or honestly, that just serve wine. No, this is not a thing. So please.
It's not true. So where are your headaches coming from then? They are coming from
The whole bottle of wine you just drank?
There's that. There's also tannins as well. If you get headaches from red wine and not white, then you are getting your headaches from from the tannins, because they have what's that term called? It's I'm losing it right now.
It must be the sulfites.
Histamines, thank you. It's got to be the sulfites. So tannins have a lot of histamines in them, and so histamines, and some people are allergic to histamines, and they will cause headaches. So take an antihistamine before you drink wine that has tannins in it, then you should be fine.
Okay, which goes on to a topic, just jumping in really quick, that if you are allergic to certain types of wine or grapes, for that matter, it's probably not the grapes. It's probably something within the wine itself.
Yeah, they got to be adding something to the wine that, like,
yes.
Tannin powder, for example, because tannin in general has histamines in it, and tannin powder has a more concentration of histamines.
Exactly.
That's why I get headaches from it.
Well, and even like, you'd be surprised what people add. I mean, like you said, the oak powder. Some people add egg
whites. Well, you're not really adding that in. It's more of like a fining process, and after you fine the wine, you're filtering it out. So they're not going to physically have egg whites in them.
There's certain things that you don't realize that is not on these labels that's in there that you are probably allergic to without even realizing. It's not the grape. I mean, not the grape itself,
Yeah.
to be honest.
This is a topic that I want to save for Patreon, so this next episode. But it's about an ingredient list on the back of wine bottles.
Which is a great time to wrap this one up.
So, but we didn't talk about Brie.
Oh, yeah. Let's just,
Patreon or main?
go on to Patreon to
All right.
listen of us complaining about the sulfite problem.
And to hear why the Brie cheese is coming to an extinction, unfortunately, for the Patreon episode. But to wrap this up on the sulfite thing in natural wine, to make it clear, it's not the sulfites. You're eating a lot more sulfites than you are drinking them in a wine. But it is your consumption of wine. It is the fact that you're not drinking water, you're dehydrated, and you're not eating food while you drink wine. As Chris Horn put it, he's a wine buyer for Purple Cafe in Seattle. He put it very nicely on our episode. He said wine in American culture has become more of a cocktail, where in other cultures, like in Europe, it's on the dinner table. It is on the lunch table. It's on the breakfast table. You're drinking it with food and water, drinking it with water as well. So
you're not drinking it to get hammered.
It's more of a cultural thing. And so when you're going out, going to 5 different tasting rooms in one single afternoon, and you wonder why you're getting headaches.
I might have an answer for you.
Electrolytes and food. You need those.
Yes.
It's not a cocktail. I mean, I'm going to say this last thing before we wrap it up, but I'm not sure, I haven't read about this at all, but it is a hunch to me where people can drink beer extensively drink beer and not get headaches, and then drink mixed drinks and not get headaches extensively. I think it might be because wine is in that middle tier, because with beer you're looking at 5% to 9%, depending on the beer. With the IPAs, it's got to be 9%, but then you're drinking a lot less of them. And with mixed drinks,
is that what you think?
It's high octane. So you're getting fucked up and numb before you get the headache.
Yeah.
So this is not a studied thing as far as I know. You can probably look it up. I haven't looked it up, but it is kind of my hunch that wine is in this weird middle tier of alcohol percentage, where it's not super low and it's not super high. It's kind of in the middle tier, so people are more comfortable drinking it as a cocktail, but they're not getting numb before they get headaches.
Exactly.
And so I think that might be the case. I think that's the case with a lot of it. But anyways.
Drink your water, eat your food.
Drink your water, eat your food. It's not the sulfites, people.
Not sulfites.
Cheers. Thank you guys for listening. Love you. Go to Patreon. Cheers.